Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and we're talking about feeling the difference when music is prayed versus just played, and so much more with Julie Carrick. Julie's going to be talking about a recent surprise with the newest song, Psalm 141, for her upcoming book on prayer. It's going to be very exciting. I don't want to give too much away, though. Julie, are you with us?
I am. I
Wonderful.
am. What a joy this past week was. The song, which is kind of, I mean, the book is very different than years ago when I would work on a recording project like a CD or a record, right? You'd
Right.
have like this, I don't know, a collection of pieces that you would write with basically a theme. And writing a book and then writing music to go with it is a little bit different feel. But if I could make the title track, if you will, for the book, which is all about prayer, it comes from that beautiful Psalm 141. Let my prayer rise like incense before you, O Lord.
Mm.
And it was the most beautiful experience this week because one of the ladies that I've met, she worked here in our diocese for the past 7 years. And now she's working with Catholic Charities. And one of her one of her beautiful gifts is her ability to sing. And so she
Mm.
sings at my home parish at Blessed Sacrament. Her name is Lisa, and she has this most beautiful alto voice. And anytime that I've heard her sing at Mass, I've been so I've wanted to get her in the studio. Like I wanted to hear
Mm.
her record a piece of music. And so this past week, after I had done the initial recording of the song 141, it was just amazing when I asked Lisa to come into the studio and to listen through the piece, which she did. And I said, "Do you hear it? I mean, do you hear what your voice would do alongside mine? Like we would pray this together." And she took a little bit of time with it that afternoon and then started singing.
Mm.
And it was the most amazing prayer. It was, as the words flowed out of her as she sang, she wasn't just singing, but she was praying as she was singing the
Mm.
parts. And I have not had an experience like that in a long time where it was literally praying it and instead of just singing it. And I cannot wait. Like I cannot wait for everyone to hear the final work of the music that is now part of this new book coming out. And it kind of started when the writing of the book was happening, taking all of these beautiful prayers. And I love how Debbie and Adam were talking about, that favorite line of scripture that with God all things are possible.
Mm.
And our prayer life should teach us that with him everything is possible. But that prayer life, that being in conversation with God is such an amazing thing if we fully participate in it, if we don't just say the words. And when music is lifted as prayer, we hear again that little saying that says when you sing you pray twice.
Mm.
And that's true, but a lot of times we can find a song where we're just singing it and the melody is there and we're tapping our toe and we're singing along. And with secular music, it can be actually quite damaging to our soul if we
Mm.
find ourselves just singing along and all of a sudden the words are landing in our ear and in our soul and we're like, whoa, what am I singing? Like
Mhm.
this song that I'm singing, is it edifying? Is it building me up toward God, or is it just words, right? And our music in our spiritual journey can be the same thing, as far as, are we really are we really praying with this music that is prayer, that
Mm.
is it's not just the words. When we're at mass, one of the examples of this could be the Gloria, right? It's an
Mhm.
amazing prayer. And so many times when we set it to music and we're singing along, we can, if we don't realize the words we are praying while we're singing that song, we've lost one of the most magnificent prayers.
Mm.
The same thing with the Our Father. I mean, a lot of parishes will sing the Our Father, and it'll be a new melody or whatever. But all of a sudden, we get to the end of it, and have we just sung it or have we prayed it? And so, where this kind of came from this week for me to even talk about this was when Jim Whitaker, who's we actually co-wrote one of the songs together for the new book, and it's taking the prayer of Saint Francis, and we have set it to a new musical setting. And
Hmm.
Jim is a phenomenal pianist. When he plays the piano, you go to a different place. Like he's got
Hmm.
the most beautiful way of playing. And so when Jim came over and we started to work on that piece, I was kind of shocked that he brought a guitar with him. And I was like, why did you bring a guitar? Like your instrument is piano.
Hmm.
And he said, when I'm playing the piano, I can get so lost in the music that I don't focus as much on the word. And so with him bringing that guitar and the two of us sitting down together, and he just let the kind of the chord just kind of ring on each of the parts of those lines of the prayer, and it allowed us actually to pray it instead of just sing it. And so the music that came out as we were working on that particular song, and we've just called it Instrument of Peace. That's the name of the new song
Hmm.
with it. But it took us to a place of love. It took us to a place that as we prayed those words that St. Francis gave us as prayer, but now putting it to music, it's not just being sung. Like it's so easy to take that beautiful old the beautiful old one, make me a channel of your peace where there is
Right.
darkness, you know. And so even though we're singing it, are we really praying it? And so this new musical setting has taken it to a place that is allowing it to go so far past the music, and yet the music is such a fundamental part of how we are using it in prayer. um, I am excited. Like I am so excited to share this in the very, very near future. We're hoping by the 20th of September to
Hmm.
have a whole bunch of copies ready for the book to come out with this new music to pray with. And I'm just curious,
Hmm.
Keith, when you are praying, do you ever have music as part of your prayer life?
Sometimes. Typically, I will do that if I'm praying by myself. But just thinking about what you've been saying and thinking how to engage my own children, I think adding some sort of music or element of music would help them pay attention. Maybe I don't know. I can't expect. I mean, my 4 year old, she's a 4 year old. Her
Right.
attention span is, if, as of a 4 year old. But I do think adding some sort of music does maybe enhance at least the attentiveness to prayer.
Yeah, it makes sense that when we use both parts of our brain, and that to
Mm,
me has been um, part of this the whole way of looking at it versus saying it versus praying it, saying versus praying, and to just say the prayers we can say them. And again, the idea of this book that they are the rote prayers, those prayers that we have memorized, but are we saying them or are we praying them? Are we
mm,
singing these songs or are we praying them as we do it? And for me personally, because I am so split right in the middle of my mom and dad. So my mom was
mm,
this very fly by the seat of her pants kind of gal, just very um, very just in the moment, where daddy was very structured. He was a
mm,
German engineer, and so
right.
everything had to have complete structure. And for me, I can see how both of them, I'm a part of both of them. And for me, the musical aspect of it uses that side of my brain that allows me to be very artistic. Whereas the other side of my brain says, now we're not just finding the beauty in it, let's find the intent of it. And so in sung prayer, or in when we go deeper into these prayers, it allows us to take the words into us, and not just hear them, not just not just memorize them, but to take them to that deeper place of conversation with God. And that's my hope in this new project is taking those beautiful prayers that are familiar to our ear, but perhaps setting them with the music, as well as going deeper into the study of what they mean, more about the saint who wrote it. One in particular that's going to be shared in the book is from Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, and I love him. And his beautiful Memorare is a prayer that we all, many of us know the Memorare. But one of his other pieces is the moment of that question that Saint Gabriel had for our Blessed Mother when he said, "Will you be the mother of the Savior? Will you say yes to God's request in your life?" And the way that he wrote the poetry about that moment was that when the angel Gabriel asked Mary, and in those seconds before she gave her reply, the entire world held its breath and waited with bated breath. What is Mary going to say? And came back with one reply: yes. And so, how do we live and give our yes? And so, that beauty of the Memorare took me to a deeper place about St. Bernard, who then took me to this place of what is my reply? And that's one of the other songs that's going to be a part of this new beautiful book. It's called One Reply, and the beauty of his words set to music. So I'm delighted.
Oh, thank you. You're making us feel delighted. I know that. I'm getting that vibe. Definitely. My goodness. Thank you so much, Julie, for joining us every single Friday here